guys, how you all doing? Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be filming the Gilmore Girls Book Tag. So it is currently the Gilmore-a-thon, Gilmore Girls readathon. I thought that I would celebrate it a bit by doing the Gilmore Girls Book Tag. I didn't even know that this was a thing. I just like typed into YouTube to see if it was a thing, and it was, and I was like, perfect, I'm going to do it. I also added a few questions, or just a couple of questions, because this tag is kind of focused on characters and then a question correlating with the character, and I felt like there was a few important characters that were missing that I came up with some questions for. So I just kind of added a couple of questions. So I hope that's okay. I don't know who the original creator of this tag was, so I'm sorry. But let's just get right on into the video because I'm really excited about this one. Okay, so the first question is Lorelai, and that is a character with a witty or sarcastic sense of humor. So for that, I chose Harry Potter because he's so sassy, and he's just, he makes me laugh so much. When I am annotating Harry Potter, guys, I use my funny tab, which is orange, so often that I have about 1 million packages of tabs open, primarily because I always run out of orange, and it's primarily due to Harry Potter being so funny. So he's just a sarcastic little baby, and I wish that was in the movies more, but he's just so funny. But I also put Thorn from the Lunar Chronicles series because, Thorn, my little baby. I love him so much. The next one is Rory, which is a favorite classic. So for me, my favorite classic of all time is Anne of Green Gables by Ella Montgomery. This is a childhood favorite. I loved the movies growing up, and I read the book for the first time when I was about 10 years old, and it was just life changing. I remember reading it in my room and finishing it in the middle of the night and just crying to my mom. I heard her, I was staying up way past my bedtime, and I heard her going to the bathroom, so I ran up to her and started crying because I just loved this book so much, and there was the sad thing that happens in it, and it was just so emotional for me. I just love this book so much, and it is definitely my favorite classic. The next question is Luke, a book you secretly love but are afraid to admit. And honestly, I don't have any books that I love that I'm afraid to admit that I love. If I love a book, I'm gonna let you guys know. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna be secretive about it. So this question doesn't really apply to me. The next one is Lane, a musical character. So I had a really hard time with this one for some reason. I just could not think of a musical character, and so I'm pretty sure I'm gonna remember all of them when I'm editing. But the only one that came to my mind was Nick from Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda. He plays the guitar, and there are a few scenes in this book where he is present playing the guitar, and so that's why he came to my mind. He's also singing a lot when he's playing the guitar. I don't know. He was the first musical character that came to mind. The next question is Dean, your first book love character or book you first loved? So I was trying to think about a character that I first loved, and I couldn't think of the very first character I fell in love with, so I thought I'd go with a book. And there were so many books that I loved as a kid. Reading was always a favorite of mine, and I thought about getting some of my childhood books out from my basement, but then I was like, no, I'm going to choose a book that I still adore to this day, that I still have on my shelf and everything. But just to give you guys reference to what my favorite early books were, I loved Junie B. Jones. She was my favorite queen, my favorite book series. So those are definitely early books that I loved. But I just remember reading this, devouring it, rereading it, taking it everywhere I went, and so that's why I thought it was the perfect one to talk about, and that is The Wizard of Oz by L. Frank Baum. This is another classic, and this is actually my original edition. So I've always loved this movie, but my brother was gifted this by one of his old teachers, and he didn't want it, didn't like it, so he gave it to me, and I've just been obsessed with it. I remember taking it to appointments, to the dentist, to any appointment I had to be dragged to for my mom, just sitting in waiting rooms reading this book, and it's literally falling apart because I read it so many times, and I just remember being so proud of myself because I thought it was such a large book. And I just remember looking at the illustrations in here and thinking the Wicked Witch was so funny looking. And I just remember just absolutely adoring this book. It was so amazing, and it just holds so many good memories for me. For me, when I look at old books, or my old favorite books, so really any book that I love, I get flashbacks to when I was reading it. So there are certain books that just have really vivid pictures in my head of when I was reading them, and this one's definitely sitting in waiting rooms reading it. And there was I think it was my dentist was at I think it was my dentist appointment. I was reading it in the waiting room before my appointment, and the dentist comes out and is like, "You're always reading such like big books when I come out here." This thing is puny. But I mean, I guess for like a 7-year-old, this is huge. I don't know. But yeah, I remember being like so like high and mighty about myself. Being like, look at me reading these big literature books. Anyways, that was a really long answer. The next one is Suki, a book that you devoured. Like, this is no surprise. But What If It's Us by Becky Albertalli and Adam Silvera. I read this book in a sitting. This is a huge book. And I read it in one sitting. I read it in the middle of the night. It kept me up until like 4 a.m. I love this book so freaking much. Like, it literally, I don't know why. I don't know what's so special about it, but it was just so adorable. It was everything that I wanted it to be. And I could not put it down for the life of me. It is such a good freaking book. I'm obsessed. Next question is Jess. A book you love that gets the most hate. I was really thinking about this question. I was like looking at my shelves, and there are a few books that I love that get a lot of hate. But the one that stuck out to me was one, the Shatter Me series as a whole, specifically from Julia. She hates it. She hasn't even read it, I don't think. Maybe she's read the first, oh no, she read the first book, I think. But she hates it, and she hates whenever I talk about it, so sorry, Julia. Shatter Me series as a whole gets a lot of hate, but within the Shatter Me, like, fandom, Define Me gets a lot of hate, which is the most recent installment. It is the 5th book in the series, and Shatter Me fans hate it. Except me and Peyton. Me and Peyton love it. And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I see people's gripes with it, but I think I'm just so trash, so I just really enjoyed it. I read it practically in a sitting, was obsessed, fangirl, freaking out, and I just really enjoyed it. So I think that's definitely, like, whenever I think of books that I love that people hate, that one's like one of the first ones that I think of. The next question is Miss Patty, a book that was ruined by the hype. There have been quite a few of these, but the one that kind of stuck out that like didn't like necessarily ruin the entire book because of the hype, but it ruined my experience reading it, I guess. And that is Lord of Shadows by Cassandra Clare. This book was so hyped up on the booktube community, and it was hyped up to be this like heartbreaking book. Like, everyone said the ending is gonna destroy you. It's gonna have you crying, sobbing, hysterical. And so and like I said, that somebody died at the end. I knew that somebody died at the end of this book, or near the end of this book. I just didn't know who. And there are so many characters that I love within this series that I thought it was going to be one of my babies. I thought it was going to be a character that I was obsessed with. That's why I thought that the ending was going to be so heartbreaking, because it was going to be a character we've known and loved and like whatnot. I get to the end and I don't even cry. I'm just like hyperventilating because I think this one character is going to die that I'm obsessed with, and then they don't die, and this other person dies instead, and it just wasn't as sad. I mean, it was sad. I definitely found it more sad in Queen of Air and Darkness when we get like the aftermath of it. I just remembered something really sad from Queen of Air and Darkness. Oh no. But like during this one, I think I was just like so grateful that the one character that I thought was gonna die didn't die, that I was just happy that it wasn't them and that it was somebody else. So I wasn't even that sad as I was reading it. I was kind of just like, oh, that's who died. And so this book did not affect me the same way as it affected everybody else. If I had read it when it first came out, like before the hype settled in and the expectations were set, maybe I would have had more of like an emotional reaction to it, but because of that hype, because of the expectations, because of everyone saying that somebody dies and it's heartbreaking and it's horrible, it just didn't affect me in the same way. So that's why I would say that this one is ruined by the hype. Emily Gilmore, an expensive book. So I didn't feel like grabbing it because not only is it really expensive, but it's also really, really heavy. It's Harry Potter page to screen. It's this really big, fat, tall, humongous book that's all about the behind the scenes of Harry Potter and the making of the movies and like everything like that. Like all of the details of that process is in this one book. And I'm pretty sure in Canada it's like over $100 or like just $100 for Christmas quite a few years ago now from my grandma, and I'm so eternally grateful because there was no way I was paying that much money for a book. But it's so beautiful, but definitely an expensive book, and definitely the most expensive book I own. And the last question for the original questions before we get into the questions that I added, we have Paris, an uptight character, and for some reason I can't think of an uptight character, like none are coming two minds. Like, maybe What's Her Face from the Lunar Chronicles, Queen Lavanna, sure, or Cinder's stepmom, sure. I guess, like, uptight characters just, like, don't stick in my head, but I'm gonna go with those ones because I can't really think of anything else. And then I added 2 questions, like I said, so let's just get into those. I have Logan, who I don't know why he didn't have a question, because I love Logan. He's my favorite of Rory's boyfriends, but I gave him a question. A character who undergoes some pretty great character development. I think that, like, Logan goes from this, like, party animal who, like, flip-flops between girls and, like, can't have, like, a serious relationship, and goes to have this beautiful romance and relationship with Rory, and is so loyal and is so beautiful and so caring. And yeah, I love Logan. And so for that one I went with Juliet from Shatter Me, because she starts off the series as such, like, a weak character who's been stuck in jail for the past year and is kind of, like, crippled away to nothing, has no self-confidence, no self-worth, because she's always been told that she is this monster because of her lethal touch. And so she always, like, she just hates herself, and she, you know, has been, like I said, locked away in jail for a year. But over the series she gets stronger, and she starts believing in herself and loving herself, and ends up being this, like, super strong, empowering female kick-ass character that I just adore so much. So that's definitely, like, one of my favorite character developments in a series ever. It's just so satisfying to see her go from that character in book 1 to who she is now, and I'm just, wow, I love Juliet. And the last question is Christopher, a book or author you have a complicated relationship with. I went with Sarah J. Maas / like Throne of Glass, because I used to love Throne of Glass, like, so much. It was one of my favorites when I first started my channel, and I started rereading it this year and I just don't love it as much, and so I have all these, like, conflicted, complicated feelings for it in my head of, like, do I love it, do I not love it, what's happening? And then also Sarah J. Maas can be quite problematic with her writing and her books, and so, like, that's also conflicted in my head, and I'm just, yeah. She's, like, I just have a really complicated relationship with her and her books as of late, so I thought she was the perfect answer for this question. That is the Gilmore Girls book tag. I hope you guys enjoyed. I thought this was a really fun tag, and I haven't done, like, a tag like this in a while, so I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, give it a huge thumbs up. Comment down below if you guys are participating in the Gilmore Girls readathon, because I definitely am, and I think it is a great idea for a readathon. Subscribe if you have not yet already, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!